All right, we're going to look at multiplying and dividing negative numbers. Okay, there's just a couple rules we need to follow. I'm not going to provide a proof here as to why these rules are true. I'm just going to show you how to apply them. Okay, so the first rule, this is just regular math we're used to. When we have a positive number times a positive number, okay, an important thing before I keep going is that side by side parentheses or a number next to parentheses means multiply every single time, unless there's a plus or a minus sign between there. If you see them side by side, no matter what sign is inside the parentheses, it means multiply, okay? So a positive times a positive, this is the kind of math we've been doing ever since we were in, second grade. That's going to be a positive number, okay? So our rules are not changing. Now what's new is when we work with negative numbers, okay? If we have a negative times a negative, it actually is going to result in a positive number. Okay, and that's because when we multiply like this, it means that we're subtracting a negative number and that becomes positive. Okay, but I'm not going to go into detail. We just have to accept that there's proof and that this works, and we need to memorize this rule. Okay, so if your numbers are the same sign, two, we're talking about pairs of numbers, okay, they're the same sign, the answer is going to be positive. All right, now if you have one negative and one positive, the answer is going to be negative. Okay, and the same thing if you have a positive first times a negative, the answer is going to be a negative number. All right, it doesn't matter what order they're in because multiplication is commutative. That's a math word that means the numbers can switch places and the answer does not change. Okay, now what happens when we have more than two numbers that are being multiplied like we have down here? Well, we're going to use the same exact rule. So say I've got a minus times a minus times a minus. Okay, now we already know from over here, a minus times a minus equals a plus. Okay, so that means this right here multiplied is going to give me a plus number. All right, now I have a plus times a minus, which gives me a minus. All right, similarly, if I had a minus times a minus times a minus times a minus, okay, or any number of minuses, it doesn't matter. I'm going to look for pairs. Okay, this pair is plus, this pair is also plus. Now I have a plus times a plus, which is going to give me a plus for an answer. Okay, so we're looking for pairs of negative numbers multiplied. That gives us positive, but if we have only one negative number in the problem, then negative times a positive is going to give us a negative result. All right, so let's look at these problems here. First, we're going to multiply the numbers. Our math doesn't change. Same times table, same number rules, okay? 7 times 3 is going to be 21. Now, what is the sign of my answer? Well, I have a plus times a minus, and a plus times a minus gives me a minus. So the answer is a minus 21. All right, let's do the number. 9 times 10 is 90, okay? But I have a minus times a plus. Let's see, minus times plus is minus. So my answer is minus 90. 6 times 4 is 24. And I have a minus times a minus up here, minus, minus. That's going to give me a plus, okay? We don't have to write the plus. We could just write it as 24 because every number without a sign is just assumed to be a positive number. All right, down here we've got multiple negative numbers. So I have a minus times a minus. Well, let's do that second. Let's multiply our number first. 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. Okay, now I have a minus times a minus, that gives me a plus, and another minus times a minus, which gives me a plus. So I'm always going to look for pairs of negative numbers. A plus times a plus is a plus. So it's just 1. Let's do our number. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. Now let's work out the sign. A negative times a negative is going to give me a positive. A positive times a negative is going to give me a negative. All right, this last one here, 10 times 3 is 30. 30 times 2 is 60. Okay, I've got a negative times a negative, which is going to be a positive, and a positive times a positive, which is going to give me a positive. Okay, an important thing to note is even if these minuses were not next to each other, I would still get the same answer. So let's take this one and separate these minus signs. So if I had a minus 10 times 2 times minus 3, okay, I'm still going to have 60, right? And it doesn't matter that these minuses are not next to each other. I could go by pairs. I could work it however I wanted to. I could go minus times a minus and make a plus, or I could just go like I was doing before. A minus times a plus is a minus, and a minus times a minus is a plus. Okay, so because multiplication is commutative, it does not matter what order we multiply. It's not going to change the sign of the answer. Let's go ahead and look at division. Okay, now the cool thing about the division is that the rules are exactly the same as for multiplication. Okay, so let's go ahead and write them down. Now, whether your division sign looks like this or it looks as a fraction, it does not change the rules. Okay, so if I have a plus divided by a plus, that's our same old math we've always done. That's always going to be a plus. All right, if I've got a minus divided by a minus, my answer, sorry, not supposed to say not equal to, is equal to a plus as well. Okay, so we've got two negatives, we're going to have a positive answer. And if I have a minus divided by a plus, that's going to give me a minus. And if I have a plus, let's write over here, a plus divided by a minus, I'm also going to have a minus answer. Okay, and it's the same rule as with multiplication. When I have more than one negative in the problem, and I'm talking about division or multiplication, I'm just going to look for pairs of negative numbers that will, when multiplied or divided, are going to give me a positive answer. Okay, so let's have a look here at these problems. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, right? Because our math isn't changing, our numbers aren't changing, we're just trying to figure out the sign. I have a positive divided by a negative, so I have one negative. That means my answer is going to be negative. Okay, let me go ahead and keep my rules here in sight. Whoops. So we have them to look at. All right, 16 divided by 8 is also 2. I have a negative and a positive, so like this, negative divided by positive, so I'm going to have a negative 2. 20 divided by 5 is 4. I have a negative divided by a negative, that's right here. Negative divided by negative, that's going to give me a plus 4, which I can also just write as 4. All right, now here's division. Fraction bar means division. 81 divided by 9 is 9. A negative divided by a negative right here, that gives me a positive answer. Again, I don't have to write the plus sign. 100 divided by 10 is 10. I have a positive divided by negative, positive, negative, my answer, negative 10. Minus 55 divided by 11, well, 55 divided by 11 is 5. And a minus divided by a plus, minus plus gives me a minus answer, so minus 5. All right, and my last one, it's a little bit trickier, but again, my rules are not changing, okay? I'm going to treat this just like 9 divided by 3/5. So I'm going to do keep, change, flip. So I'm going to keep my minus 9, change this to multiplication, and flip my fraction. Okay, you can leave it like this if you're okay with this kind of multiplication, but I'm going to go ahead and put that over 1. For the moment, I'm not going to worry about my minus sign. I'm going to deal with that later, okay? I'm going to look to cross cancel. 3 and 9 I can divide by 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 5 and 1 can't cross cancel, so I'm going to go ahead and multiply across. 3 times 5 is 15, and 1 times 1 is 1, okay, which is just 15. Now I'm going to look at the signs. I have a minus, and over here I have two positive numbers. So a minus divided by a plus. Let's look up here, minus divided by plus, that's going to give me a minus answer, which is minus 15. All right, now for a lot of students, they still don't quite understand why these rules work, and I totally get it. And all I'm asking is that they just go with it for right now, because eventually it will start to make sense. But just know that there is proof, and there's a reason why these rules work, and we just need to accept them for right now, even if we don't understand, so that we can practice getting the right answer to the problem.